Brand new for the 2023 model year is the Ford Bronco Heritage Limited. And this one is in the robin's egg blue, which looks kind of funky, but it's pretty neat all at the same time. It's definitely different from most Broncos you're going to see on the road. A little bit of a throwback to those more historic times because it's the heritage year for Ford. There are some pretty unique highlights when you look at the heritage version of the Bronco. You've got unique Bronco lettering along the fenders for the driver-passenger side. On top of that, fender flares sit nice and high, and because this is the limited version of the Heritage, it's got pretty much every available package. It's got the Luxe package, it's Sasquatch, and it's also got the modular hardtop on top of that. Now before we dive in, I do want to give Yorkdale Ford a huge shout out and thanks for giving me access to this thing to shoot the video for you guys today. You can find their contact information in the description of the video, as well as a build link for this specific Bronco right off of the Ford.com and .ca website. So you'll find that info down in the description, along with some walkthroughs on some interior technology. But like I said, there are so many unique highlights when you look at the Heritage Limited version of the Bronco. Mentioned that you've got unique Bronco lettering along the fender, and there's this kind of neat white highlight that goes all the way throughout the body on the driver-passenger side. The fender flares on this thing sit pretty high because this thing has the Sasquatch package, which means that, yeah, you've got some pretty unique 17-inch wheels, but you've got beefy 35-inch Goodyear rubber on top of that. I don't know if I'd want to take this thing off-road, but I get it. People get the Raptor and take that thing off-road all the time. It's just that this thing, it looks really neat. I don't know if I'd want to get it dirty. This thing does have the Sasquatch package, but there are a few differences between the Sasquatch and every other trim level versus inside of the Heritage Limited. The big one is actually with the wheel itself, and these things are not beadlock capable because you would have that beadlock capable option typically in the Sasquatch, and that's just for airing down tires, so when you air them down, just so the tire doesn't slip off of the rim itself. So that's just one thing you're not going to find inside of the regular wheel here, unfortunately, but you could do something aftermarket if you wanted to. But it does have the majority of the feature sets that you're going to find inside of the Sasquatch package. So taking a peek at the shocks, this thing does have Blistine shock absorbers, high clearance suspension, high clearance fenders on top of that, as well as the 4.7 final drive ratio. So it's not good for added fuel economy whatsoever, but it is useful for off-roading, so specifically rocks and rock crawling and climbing and things like that. Now this thing right from the factory does have powder-coated tube steps. With the Bronco Heritage Limited, it's got the Luxe package, which means that you have every feature of the mid package, the high package, and then some highlights as well specifically for the Luxe. Now a few nice ones, it's got the side view mounted cameras, you can utilize the backup camera, and the forward-facing camera for that full 360 view, which is useful if you're planning on taking this thing off-road. And then in case you get stuck, you do have 2 front tow hooks, and then steel bash plates. You've got LED headlamps that wrap nicely into this white painted grille. It's really unique, and that's what Ford was really pushing for with the Heritage Limited. Underneath the hood of the Heritage Limited, you're strictly going to find the 2.7 liter turbocharged engine. So the Bronco does have the option for either a 2.3 liter turbo that comes as a 7-speed manual or a 10-speed auto, or the 2.7 liter that we're looking at, which is strictly going to be a 10-speed automatic transmission instead. So the trim level of the vehicle that you look at is going to dictate which engine you're going to get. I guess technically there are 3 engines because we've got the Raptor, which has the 3-liter turbocharged engine instead. That's Raptor specific though, versus the 2.3 and the 2.7 you can find in most trim levels. It's just that the Heritage Limited is strictly the 2.7. But I mean, power-wise, this thing is pretty solid. It pushes out 315 horsepower and 410 pound-feet of torque when you use regular 87 octane. But I mean, these things do like higher octane fuel instead. So like a 91, you're going to get better performance. It's going to push out 330 horsepower and 415 pound-feet of torque instead. So if you want the best possible performance out of this 2.7, you're going to want to use at least a 91 octane. It's just not necessary. But relatively straightforward here. You're handy doing some things yourself. You can easily top up your fluids, change your oil as well. And if you need to jump start, battery just off to the right-hand side there. Regardless of the car that you've got, just make sure that you're maintaining the thing to get the best possible life out of your ride, but you also want to make sure you're maintaining the manufacturer's warranty. And in the Ford world, it's pretty good. Your basic warranty is 3-year, 36,000 mile or 60,000 kilometers. And then your powertrain is going to be a 5-year, 60,000 mile or 100,000 kilometers. So pretty solid, but just make sure you're maintaining your vehicle properly so that that manufacturer's warranty stays valid for the entire vehicle. Filling up fuel inside of the Bronco was straightforward, but there are some kind of nice highlights, like that white stripe, 7 Nation Army, goes all the way throughout, and then there's this little Sasquatch badge right along the very bottom right-hand side. It's an unlocked cover, capless system with anti-siphon technology built in, and then you've got a little Easter egg highlight of the Bronco throughout the year with the different body styles, which is kind of cool. Nice little throwback there. And it's funny, yeah. So it does say 87 octane as like the minimum manufacturer's recommendation. But I mean, I did mention that under the hood. If you want the best possible performance out of this thing, 91 octane at the very minimum. I know gas prices are pretty crazy right now, but at the same time, if you've got the budget for it, try running your Bronco with a 91 for a few cycles and watch how much more performance you get out of it. Towards the back end of the Bronco, you've got LED tail lamps there. And then this one also has 2 tow hooks in the back, so you've got one driver-passenger side. Fender flares marry nicely into the black bumper. Now this one, because of all the packages it has, does also have the reverse sensing system. You've got the backup camera that's mounted right inside of the tire itself. This thing also has the available tow package that you'll find right from the factory. And tow package is great because it gives you your 7 and your 4-pin provisions, and then you've also got the receiver itself. When you look at towing capacity inside of the Bronco, it doesn't matter if you're in the 2-liter or 2.3 liter or the 2.7 liter, you're maxing out at 3,500 pound towing capacity, but inside of the Raptor, so the 3-liter turbo instead, that one's gonna be able to tow up to 4,500 pounds. So if you need to tow more, you could add on a couple bucks compared to this thing and go for the Raptor instead. But 3,500 pounds for small trailers and ATVs and things like that, probably be good for most people. You know, full-size spare tire inside of this thing is great. It's got the same style throughout, and it does feature the TPMS sensors, so the tire pressure monitoring sensors. Now, the back here, you've got the little button there so you can lock the door, and then as long as you've got the key fob on you, you're just gonna slide your hand in. You can see there, and open, and up. Like off to the left-hand side, there's literally nothing. Off to the right-hand side, you've got a 12-volt power point. There's a little light, and then a speaker on top of that. Because this one has the upgraded sound system, which we'll listen to in just a second, but it sounds really, really good. You're gonna find a couple tie-downs, so very similar to the rest of the Bronco lineup. This little tray also lifts up. You've got the white spigot and the jack just down to the bottom, and then a tiny amount of storage space on top of that. Now, this one, just the regular carpeted liner, but you do have the option for a thermoplastic rubber tray right from the factory. So if you need to protect this thing, you can, because it's obviously not rubberized. So if you're gonna get messy, that tray is really, really useful rather than trying to clean off carpet. There's a little button for the headrest. You're just gonna drop that and then pull the whole seat down. And it's not a fully flat fold, but it's pretty dang close all at the same time. And there's a great amount of space in the back here. Now, I mean, obviously you lose a little bit of space because it's not fully flat because there's a little lip for the seats themselves, but still, height, width, depth is pretty solid inside of this thing. I did mention that this thing's got the spare tire mounted along the back and then the jack stand underneath. So if you wanted to change the tire yourself, if one pops, you've got the flexibility to do it. But one nice thing about being a Ford owner is that you've always got access to Ford roadside assistance, and that's good for the powertrain of the vehicle. So the same length as the powertrain warranty. So it can help you out with tire change, if you run out of fuel, if you need winching services, towing, and a number of other things. But one thing I would definitely recommend if you are a Bronco owner is Bronco Sport. Hop onto Facebook and look for different Bronco groups. There are a ton of them out there. Like-minded owners, they organize different meet and greets and off-road adventures and things like that. And some of them, like there's one, the Ontario Bronco Club, and they also do discounts for different businesses that can service your Bronco for upfitting and things like that. It's actually pretty cool. But I'll put a link to the Ontario Bronco Club down in the description. Taking a peek along the driver's side door, got the blind spot monitoring system, some lighting on the outside there, but more importantly, some zone lighting outside, as well as the side view mounted cameras. Now this specific one obviously doesn't have the number pad for you to get in. You could install it aftermarket if you really wanted it. And then it does feature intelligent access. So you could press there in order to lock or slide your hand in order to unlock the door. I've got this nice kind of brown stick highlight that goes all the way throughout the dash. You can even look at the seats. So nice. But some basics here, because this door is fully removable, there's not too much to it. You've got your handle, unlock lock buttons, little handle, and then a little cargo net there on top of that for some storage. And you can see there, if you are removing the door, very easy to do so, and then just lifting up from there. Got this nice Bronco highlight for the handle there, which is great. That nice red follows through a few different parts of the vehicle, which looks sharp. But along the side, like even through the vent, look at that, that's pretty neat. But you've got a series of other buttons along the side, so you can control the lights along the side view mirrors, figure out what's going on with your running lamps, toggle your fog lamps on or off, and then you can also increase or decrease the brightness of the cluster screen or the Sync 4 media screen. The interior of this thing is nice, and the seats inside of this thing are very, very comfortable, which is also great. And with like spacing wise inside of this thing, hold on. So the seat's down as far as it's gonna go, and I've got like 6-7 inches of headspace. So if you're taller, I don't think you're gonna have an issue sitting inside of this thing whatsoever. Like even leg space, like I've got the seat as far back, and like I probably wouldn't be able to fully press the brake pedal in from as far back as I am, which is crazy. Power seats inside of this thing for the driver passenger side, because this is the Luxe package and it's the Heritage Limited. So it's got pretty much everything you could want inside of the vehicle. It's good. Including 4-way adjustable headrest, so you can go forwards, backwards with it, on top of going up and down. So if you want to create an even more like perfect position, oh yeah, there you go. You've got that flexibility, which is good. A few things about the steering wheel itself. You've obviously got the Bronco along the very middle, adaptive cruise control system to the left side, and then all of your controls to navigate through the cluster screen along the right side there. But if you want to walk through, like you want to know how to use the adaptive cruise system, navigate through the cluster screen and things like that, check down in the description because I've put together a comprehensive video showing you how everything works. But inside of the Heritage Limited version of the Bronco, you do have a heated steering wheel available. So you've got the button along the side there, just next to the driver's side climate control setting, which is good. It's going to be a manual telescoping steering wheel, though, across the entire Bronco lineup. So you can easily adjust out to the side there. This is good. Good visibility. Because this is the Heritage Limited, so it does have the upgraded sound system. So you've got your speakers literally all over the place, which is amazing. But I like it. I like this highlight goes through and like the uniqueness of the inside here. So this Bronco, really, really sharp. And that's kind of cool because, again, that red highlight follows all the way through the vents, down the center stack as well. Solid. Now, very similar to the rest of the Bronco lineup, you've got a series of other buttons along the very top here. So one of them is your stability bar disconnect, and then you've got a series of other options for your front and your rear locking differential. There's trail turn assist on top of that. One of them trailer turn assist, that'd be ridiculous. Could you imagine spinning a trailer out? But it's trail turn assist. And one of the big benefits of that trail turn assist is that if you're on a trail, what it's going to do, well, I guess even on regular roads, but very useful on trail usage, is that if you've got that system activated and you need to pivot left or right very quickly, it's going to lock up the innermost rear tire. So a big benefit there is that it locks in so you can spin left or right a little bit easier. And then your traction stability control on top of that, and your forward linkers. There's a little mount along the top, so if you're mounting an accessory, you've got that flexibility. And then along the very top here, you've also got a few more power points. So another USB-C and then another USB Type-A power point. Nice. But moving down, you are going to be push-button start across the entire Bronco lineup. And then this is the Sync 4 media screen. This is the Sync 4 media screen that you're going to find inside of the vehicle. It's an amazing system. It's got AM, FM, Sirius XM support. And then you've also got the option for, there we go. That's what I'm looking for, USB. So if you've got a USB stick with MP3s on there, you can also plug in, you've got 2 data ports. You can plug it into either the USB Type-A or the USB Type-C, and it's going to recognize it as a source. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to tweak out the audio settings in this thing just a tiny little bit. So will I even need to do that? Yeah, I'm going to do it. So typically with the sound settings that I go for, so tone settings, I drop the treble down usually 2 or 3, and then I crank the bass usually by 3. And that's going to give really, really good audio inside of this thing. So I want you to listen to this. So I've got the microphone recording. There's no audio cleanup done. This is straight coming right from the speakers here.
Step 3, think real hard about what you want to be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be
Okay, and that is at half volume. The audio inside of this thing, the Bang & Olufsen sound system, is incredible. There are a few different speaker choices that are available, but when you get into some of the higher packages, so the Lux Pack, the sound, like I said, is just really, really good. So if audio is your thing, you are going to love the system that you've got in the upgraded sound system. Or the sound, I should say, that you get in the upgraded sound system. Here or there, though. I know some people just aren't a fan, but I am in it. Like I said, it sounds...
And the steps you take them, I'll try to pick one thought, have some concentration, and if I make a mistake, it's called education.
It sounds so good. Factory navigation inside of this thing. Super responsive, which is great. Nice pinch to zoom capabilities. You can go full screen as well. Tons of options for searching. You can save in a ton of different options. Point of interest icons. If you're going to be going off-road and you just have the GPS coordinates, you could also enter just the coordinates instead. Some basic apps, like I mentioned, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, series of unique settings that are available. There are a lot of good ones, like some basic vehicle settings as well, so 30-minute max idle. You've also got some options for the windows, so you can use your key fob in order to roll the windows down, which is kind of nice. Ambient lights and things like that. So many unique ones. Valet mode to lock the system out. In this one, driver assistance settings, there are a lot of good basic safety settings, and you can toggle a lot of them off. So adaptive cruise control, blind spot system, so if somebody's into the blind spot on either side of the vehicle, it's going to highlight orange and let us know. You can turn your parking sensors off, so if you're going off-road and you don't want to get beeping all the time, you can turn off your front or your rear sensors if you want to. Very useful. Zone lighting, so you can use zone lighting throughout the vehicle on the outside. So you can have all lights on if you want to, front lights, rear lights, etc. So really useful if you're going trail riding later on at night or you're just hanging out at night. Really nice overall. Like if you want to walk through, like I said, of the Sync 4 screen or the steering wheel cluster, look in the description. But moving down, you've got volume rocker, tuning rocker, button for your 360 camera. So you've got a 360 view, front partial view, front 180 degree view. And then if you throw yourself into reverse, that moves into either a backup view, backup 360, backup, or backup 180. Pretty neat. Start-stop system, so that's the one that's potentially going to kill power to the engine if you're stopped for an extended period of time. Basic climate control settings, including heated steering wheel. Heated seats are going to be standard inside of some models of the Bronco, but I mean, obviously we're in the Heritage Limited, which is why this is included. You've got a few power points, so a USB Type-C and a USB-A, and then a wireless charge pad on top of that. The shifter inside of this thing feels great. Nice bucking Bronco in the middle, and then your plus-minus buttons. So if you drop yourself down into the manual mode instead, you've got the flexibility of adjusting what gear you're in as you go, which is really neat. Very useful. A little American flag there. Nice. Dearborn, Michigan. I like the little red highlights all throughout. This is really, really nice. Little assist handle along the passenger side. Few cup holders, and then your GOAT modes. So I love the GOAT modes because as you go through each mode, it changes the look of the cluster screen. I mean, look at this. Baja, rock crawl. Now, not every mode is going to be available in every model of the Bronco, but again, Heritage Limited, it's going to come with all the available options. So each mode does something different, plays with the traction stability control. Some of them require you to be in 4 high, 2 high, whatever the case may be, but really useful if you are taking this thing off-road to play with your driving dynamics. Series of other options, so your 2 high, 4 low, or your 4 auto mode, which means the vehicle determines what's going on. Most of the time, you're going to be in 2 high. 4 low is if you're doing like aggressive rock crawling, pulling a boat out of water, things like that. 4 high is if you're going to be going essentially like slippery conditions, snowy conditions, things like that. And then You've also got your trail control as well. So you'd essentially set it at a speed, and then it would hold the vehicle in place there for you at that speed, so you'd only have to worry about using the brake instead. All of your window controls are going to be along the side because these doors are fully removable. So you've got your controls front and back, kill off power to the rear windows, adjust your side view mirrors, and then this thing you can also lock out, lifting up for a removable tray, and then there's also a 12-volt power point, then decent amount of storage, like almost wrist deep, which is kind of nice. Shooting up overhead, this thing is going to have an auto-dimming rear view mirror, controls for your cabin lights, auxiliary switches. So the big benefit there is if you're going to be installing a winch or lights or dash cam and things like that, you'd have the flexibility of toggling any of these things on, off, etc. So pre-wired in, which is amazing. Off to the side there, so you've got your visor with your garage door opener at home. So if you've got one there, you can program it in very easily. I'll leave a link down in the description of the video. So if you want to know how to program this thing in, it's pretty straightforward. Little business card holder, visor with lights built, a vanity mirror, so I should say, with lights built in. And this thing extends out. Oh, look how far that goes. Nice. To block most of the sun. And then because this one is the hard top, you could technically easily remove the top there. So you've got a series of different latches that you're going to pull in order to remove the top. You could take the roof off easily. Like there are a whole bunch of different clips so you can go around. Driver passenger side. So you could technically easily remove the roof if you want to. It's essentially a multi-piece. So you've got your 2 pieces in the first row, 1 big piece in the second row, 1 big piece in the third row as well, if you wanted to take it out yourself. The first 2 here, very easy to do solo. Middle one, a little bit challenging. The back one, also challenging, but a bit more of a pain in the neck because the first row, it's a series of just different latches in the back. You actually have to unbolt and things like that. But if you want to walk through and how to do it, there are some pretty good videos out there already that showcase it. So rather than doing that myself, I'm just going to link off to it. You can find those down in the description of this video. And so this is really, really nice overall. But what I want to do, showcase second row space as well. So I've got this seat, the way that I would typically set it up. So I'm 6 feet tall with the seat set up for the way that I would typically drive it. Inside of the second row, I have a great amount of leg space, great amount of knee space, foot space as well, with this seat set up that way. And up overhead, 3.5-ish inches of head space. So there actually is a surprisingly good amount of space inside of this thing, which is nice. Now, could you fit 3 full-size versions of me in the third row? It's going to be tight for whoever's stuck in that middle seat. Could you do it? Yeah, I think you could. Might be slightly uncomfortable, though, for whoever's sitting in the middle seat, so whoever draws that short straw, but here or there. The seat comfort in the second row is pretty nice. Like, obviously not as comfortable as the first row, but still pretty solid overall. It's good. Good. This thing also has a few cup holders there. Little light overhead as well. And then other thing is that you've got your window controls right in behind the armrest. So 2 controls there. And then there's also 2 USB power points. So a USB Type-C, USB-A. And then there's also a wall outlet. So 150 volt, 400 watt outlet back here. Regular wall plug, which is great. This is good. But outside of that, there's not too much back here. It's nice. It's simple. Seats are what they are. Like if you've got kids, front-facing, rear-facing child seats are going to be held down no problem because you've got all the anchor points and top tether points. And then just for general safety, if that's something that you're kind of concerned about, because you could ride this thing without the doors and without the roof on, but even still, your framing still has all of the airbags. So you've got airbags literally all over the place. So if anything ever happens, you roll, get into an accident with your doors off, whatever the case may be, you are really covered off from that perspective. But I do think Ford did a really good job with the Bronco. When I saw it launch originally, I was kind of shocked at how much I liked it. And then the Heritage Limited that was announced for this year, so this thing is actually pretty neat. It's unique. There's definitely a niche market for it, but someone's going to end up picking this thing up. And that was a look at the Ford Bronco Heritage Limited with the robin's egg blue. What'd you think? The color scheme is kind of funky. It's a little bit different, but you're going to see these things out on the road. If you have any questions, drop down in the comment section below and let me know. As I mentioned, you can find a build link for this Bronco and the contact information for Yorkdale Ford if you're looking to put through an order for a Bronco, F-150, whatever the case may be. But if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone if you think they might find it helpful, and until I see you next time, take care.